Legend tales of a place where the booze flows freely and the stories are always entertaining. If you are bold enough to seek out such a place, head 13 miles down the Tuscan Highway to a tiny blues joint known as the Townsmith Tavern. Once there, enjoy the ride. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and Bowl.
Excuse me, you can't say that. You're gonna lose your family-friendly rating. You're gonna corrupt the kids.
BS! A podcast that invites you to grab a cold beverage, pull up a seat, and enjoy time with friends. And here are your hosts, Howard Blues and the Mark Kidder.
Good evening and welcome to Beer, Blues, and BS. I am your host, Howard Blues, here once again.
I guess this thing is live, isn't it?
Yeah, here once again with the man, the myth, the legend, the Mark Kidder. And you know, we must have had fun the last time we did this.
Good evening.
Since we're doing it again.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, it's better than root canal, so... It's the small things in life. You know what I mean? It's the small things in life.
It really is.
Could be worse.
So, Kidder, how's it going?
It really is. You know, it's been another one of those weeks. We're through. We made it. Could have been worse, like I said. But you know what? We're here. Avalanche victory. Of course, there was an Avalanche loss in there as well. But we're here for another show. And I got a little bit of extra. I'm sure you can maybe tell here, promoting the old KRDN here, because that's what we need to do on this show. Because we don't have enough to promote already. But no, everything's pretty good. How about yourself there, Howie Blues?
You know, I'm doing okay. I'm a little worse for wear. You know, we're getting older, and such, but yeah. We took my little guy to the zoo for the first time today, and I mean, beautiful day to do it. Bunch of people
Fantastic
there
outside. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, but it was one of those things. Like, we drove past the parking lot the first time and it was like, we're gonna park a little bit further away. That's all right. Not a big deal, but we had a great time. But he didn't want to sit in his stroller because, you know, there's just so much for him to look at. And he hasn't really been around, like, kids a lot. So all of a sudden seeing a bunch of little people, it was just like, oh, my gosh, what are... Like, he was just mesmerized. Like, you know, which is great when it's like, sure. Look, buddy, look at this tiger walking by. And he's just watching this kid with a stick walk by. And he's just like...
Sure.
But since he didn't want to sit in his stroller...
Yeah, that's all right. I mean,
he sat up on my shoulders.
Everybody needs a good stick, right?
Yeah. Anyway, he sat up on my shoulders, basically a piggyback ride the entire way, which was fine. I mean, he weighs only 20 pounds. Shouldn't be a big deal. I get in the car to drive home after that, and my left trapezius is just screaming at me, and I'm just like, oh, I'm getting old.
Uh-huh.
I'm getting old, man.
That's what happens when we get old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, you know,
but nice day at the zoo, just you know, hanging out.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite bits though about it, because there were so many people there. As we're walking out, there was some guy haranguing the poor guy who was greeting people at the gate. You know, just, what do you guys do about parking when there are 3,000 people here? You know, it's just, you know, it's like, I understand that parking around here is not great right now, but, you know, like, we parked down by the Super Slide amusement park. You know, it's like a 2-block walk to the zoo.
It's not a huge hike, but I mean, it's not exactly like you're right at the front door either.
Right. It's just funny to me because it's like, it's a beautiful day, you know, and you're going to get inside the zoo, and what are you going to do? You're going to walk around the zoo, you know. It's
Yep. Walk around. I mean, unless you hop on the train and then you sit and ride around the zoo for another 10 minutes. I mean,
Yeah, they didn't have the trains running, which it's fine. I mean, it's early season.
it's the best part of going to the zoo, the train.
Funny side story about that. I had a former employee of mine who worked at the zoo.
That we have a special guest on the show tonight, creeping in the background.
I wasn't going to call her out, but since you did, we're professional operation we got going on here. But I had a former employee,
absolutely
former employee who worked at the zoo, but he worked there when Pokemon Go came out. And he talked about the fact that normally the employees at the zoo don't like driving the train. Like, it's a bit of a hassle. And not that giving the tour is not bad and the people on the train aren't bad. It's dodging everybody else, because it's not like you get to drive down a clear road. You're having to, try to give all this information, avoid the people who are on the path are slow or not moving over, or the kid who all of a sudden I'm going to get in front of the train, you have that. But all of a sudden he had people just
don't they have an actual train horn on that thing? I mean, don't we have the technology? Does somebody need to make a donation to Dakota Zoo to be able to get one of those loud enough? Like, move!
Not gonna lie, only my second time at Dakota Zoo, so I don't know. But what he found out was, if you're familiar with Pokemon Go, part of that game is hatching eggs, and you do that by walking. So it's kind of like the more you walk, the faster you can do this. And it's to encourage you to get outside and exercise. And it is set at a speed limit.
And it has to be less than 5 miles per hour,
right? That's what I was getting to. It is set so you can't do it with your car.
Right.
However, the train moves at the right speed that it counts as walking. So his employees wanted to drive the train because they were getting extra miles in and hatching more of their Pokemon.
I mean, why not do less work to do the same amount of Pokemoning?
Yeah. So, but overall, we had a lot of fun. It was a good day. He had a lot of fun. So that was great.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. But, as I said, paying for it with the old trapezius and then my foot being on fire. But that's a different.
Right. And I mean, did you want to get into that a little bit about talking about how it feels like you're walking through an inferno at least half the time?
Yeah, I hinted at it in the last episode, and I think it's worth telling the story because this is going to be a running probably theme of whenever I get asked, "How you doing?" and I say, "Well, this is part of me is on fire." Probably should explain why. So going back to mid-January, had a evening, came down here to the basement, going to use my shower down here because we're doing some remodeling work upstairs in the bathroom. Step on the floor, and my foot feels warm, like you're stepping on a heated floor, like just this radiated heat. And I thought maybe there was something up with my floor. Tried looking into it, but kind of dismissed it. I was tired. I'd had the little guy all day. It's like, okay, who knows? But the next morning when I woke up, this warmth feeling was all the way up to my right knee. It was only on my right side. The day after that, I was traveling for work, and I hopped in my car, which does not have seat warmers, but I could have sworn that I was sitting on a seat warmer on the right side. And it just kept going, and it was always only on my right side, and it was moving up, and it got up to about my shoulder blade. And about that time, I got in to see the doc. He said, we really need you to go get an MRI. So I'm going to put that in. We have to get it through your insurance. You would think that this would be a fast thing. Like, I went back to work and actually told my boss, like, well, they want me to get an MRI. So if I get that call, I'm going, you know. And a week goes by. And things get worse. The heat goes from radiating warmth to more like walking on hot sand. And it's whenever I feel pressure. So
Not good.
yeah, definitely not good. But then started to feel weakness in my legs. So I felt weaker. Keeping my balance got more difficult. Going down a flight of stairs actually got scary for me. Like, I didn't trust myself going down it because things just didn't feel right. And I felt off balance. And I reported that to my doc, and we waited, but comes around to, it's been a week later, and it's a Thursday, but we get a call from the doc, and he goes, you got denied for an MRI. So what we're going to do is he's like, I'm sending you to a neurologist. I'm like, okay. And he goes, now here's the issue. He's like, there's not a lot of neurologists around here. So what we do is we reserve Fridays for referrals. And it's a Thursday. So unfortunately, it'll probably be next week before you get to see the neurologist. I'm like, okay, just whenever the appointment comes, you let me know. I'll be there. Well, I got lucky. The neurologist, and I don't think he would ever admit it, but I do believe that he actually had me come in on his lunch break, to see me. So I actually saw him the next day on Friday. And he ran a few of his reflex,
Which is good. Get the process rolling.
Yeah. He did a few of his reflex tests and such on me, and he's like, no, we're going to get you an MRI. And he said, when you get the call, you go. I'm like, done. I'll go. So I went back to work, told my boss, hey, here's what's going on. And I'm still thinking, like, this is going to be a bit. But my doctor, who best GP I've ever had, called the insurance, forced it through. The neurologist called the hospital, got the tech to stay late. And they called me up, about 4:00 and said, we're getting you an MRI tonight, but you need to go now. And I was so fast getting to the hospital, I beat the orders in. I felt so bad for the guy behind the reception desk because I show up and he's like, "Oh, you're what are you here for?" I'm like, "Well, I'm coming in for an MRI." I give him my name and he pulls it up. He goes, "I don't see it." I'm like, "Well, they called. They told me to be here." Da-da. He's like, "Well, let me check again." And he's like, "Oh, it just popped in." I really did feel bad for this guy because as he's kind of taking my information and going that, he ended up swallowing his gum and choking. And so, here he is coughing and we live in the age of the coronavirus. So now it's like, oh, sorry, I'm choking on my gum. I don't have corona. Like, okay. The guy's like, I have to have the gum. He's like, I talk to people all day. If I don't, my mouth gets so dry, I get hoarse. So I felt bad about that. And then he gets the question even. He goes, so have you been around anybody who's, been exposed to coronavirus? And just a reminder, I don't count. That was clearly me choking on the gum. I'm like, yeah, no, I haven't been around anybody.
Reminder.
But he was clearly flustered. I mean, he got to the part of like, so what church do you go to? Because of course this was St. Alexis. It's the Catholic hospital. It's like, so which Catholic church do you go to? And I'm like, Zion Lutheran. Oh man, I'm sorry. Wasn't trying to convert you. It's okay. I converted the other way. It's okay.
Yeah.
He was just, I just felt bad for him.
I mean, I would have been like, none, but,
Yeah. Anyway, they get me in. I spend an hour in an MRI. Again, most of the doctors I end up working with on this are great. I want to emphasize that now for things that are coming up. The neurologist actually calls while I'm in the MRI, calls the tech and says, "Hey, let him know when he gets out that I'm calling him either tonight or tomorrow, which is Saturday, but I'm calling him with the results. So let him know." Which, I mean, that's off
Very
hours.
nice.
I mean, I wasn't expecting that. I can appreciate that. And sure enough, I got a call Saturday morning. And he let me know that what they had found on the MRI was that I have a lesion in my spine and that I'm suffering from what's called transverse myelitis. But basically, my body is attacking the myelitis, which is kind of, and again, I'm not a medical expert, so if I get this a little off, excuse me. But it's basically the protective coating.
But the captions are at least getting the words correct.
Right. Which is good for them. Because I'm pretty sure I called you Kidder earlier tonight, and it called you Peters. But yeah. So anyway,
I feel like ranting.
Yeah,
but
continue. My body was basically attacking the myelitis, which is a coating around your spinal column, and I have this lesion. And what it's basically doing is it's affecting the signals coming up my nerves to my brain. So this warm sensation, this burning sensation, isn't really happening. But that is basically the signals from my nerves are being basically affected. And so my brain is telling me, hey, your foot's really hot. And it's not. And so that's what's going on. The thing about it, though, is...
And that's along the same lines when you're talking about the cold pack earlier, right? Where you like put a cold pack on you and you could feel the physical touch of the cold pack, but you couldn't feel that it was cold.
Yeah,
right? Something like that.
I hadn't mentioned that, but yeah, that did happen where my wife was like, maybe you just strained something and you have some inflammation. Why don't you lay on an ice pack and just see if you can take down the swelling? And yeah, I was laying on an ice pack and I could tell there's an ice pack under me, but I couldn't feel it. Like the cold, like it's like I'm just laying on something lumpy. The thing about transverse myelitis is that it's usually caused by something. And so a virus is usually one of the things. But I haven't been sick in a while, so I got to go in and get COVID tested. And let me just tell you, for any of you who have had to suffer the ordeal of the swab up the nose, especially if you've had to do it more than once, that, my friend, was pretty miserable.
Not good.
Yeah. Don't recommend it. Don't recommend it at all. But I got COVID tested. They drew blood, ran that. But the other thing that they needed was spinal fluid. So I had to go through a lumbar puncture. And I just want to say, during all of this, it was actually a somewhat secret at work. Like, there were actually only a few people who knew what was going on with me. My boss, the one coworker I work with the closest. But otherwise, I, for the most part, tried to keep all appearances. I made all the meetings. I accepted phone calls. I actually accepted a couple of phone calls while, like, in recovering from the lumbar puncture. I even took a couple in the ER, just to kind of keep it quiet, because I'm not a guy who likes a lot of sympathy, and I work for kind of a large agency, and the last thing I needed was everybody asking about my health. So we kind of kept it quiet, but I did go in for a lumbar puncture. And let me tell you, they tell you when I went in for the lumbar puncture, the nurse who checked me in was like, "Oh yeah, you should be fine. You should be able to go back to work this afternoon." Well, I took the whole day off, but I went in the next day. And when you get a lumbar puncture, it's basically taking a needle, shoving it into your spine, pulling out some of your spinal fluid. And they took out, I believe it was 16 milliliters of spinal fluid. And that causes a change in pressure in your head. And in 10% of people, you develop a spinal headache. And boy, did I develop a spinal headache. And
It's not good.
no, it was not good. And I went in to the ER on Thursday because I could not stand it. It was miserable. I was taking Tylenol constantly. I was drinking fluids so much, but anytime I had to sit up or get up, it was misery. And they take me to the ER. I spend 4 hours in the ER. My wife spends most of that 4 hours in the car because they wouldn't let her in. And I was in such misery that I never asked because I was hardly with it. Here's one of my issues. The guy who did the lumbar puncture, the doc, he was on duty. And so they called him down and they said, hey, he had a lumbar puncture from you. You want to take a look at it? Because he's complaining of a headache. And he came down, and there is something that can be done about a spinal headache from a lumbar puncture. It's called a blood patch. Basically, they take blood from like your arm or such, and they inject it in, and it kind of replaces the missing spinal fluid and can relieve the pressure. But there can be complications with it, and it can be painful, especially because it's blood where blood isn't supposed to be. So he debates about whether or not to give me this blood patch or whether I just need to go home and rest.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time,
Right.
he tends to spend a chunk of it haranguing me about the organization I work for and how he feels that we do not do enough to represent railroads here in the great state of North Dakota. Because I work for the Historical Society, but he,
Okay.
which to me, he's on the committee to save the rail bridge here in Bismarck. And he's haranguing me about this while I'm in pain. And in the end, he ends up not giving me the blood patch, but instead giving me high-dose narcotics on top of the high-dose steroids I'm on for the transverse myelitis. What proceeds to follow, because I was on Thursday, is for Friday, Saturday, and most of Sunday, I am in the most messed up state I've ever been in. I wasn't sleeping except because of the drugs. I couldn't tell you. My body felt so weird. I was so out of it. But I couldn't tell you what was the spinal headache, what was the narcotics, and what was the myelitis. Like, I literally felt like I got up to go to the bathroom once, and I felt like I was floating. I had no sense of anything.
You may have been at that point.
I very much could have been. But because things like, it just got bad. Like, the narcotics didn't do anything for the lesion in my spine. In fact, I actually felt worse about that. So I couldn't really lay down because that hurt. And if I sat up, my head hurt. So there was no comfort whatsoever, except for when I was sleeping.
Yeah.
And it got bad. And I like to think, at least it's my belief, that because of that, my myelitis acted up worse. Transverse myelitis can get so far as to paralyze you. And at one point, I lost feeling in my right hand. It wasn't quite gone, but it was close. And by Sunday, every voice I heard sounded like a robot. Like everybody was talking through a robot filter.
Yeah.
I was messed up. And my wife, came in, and we debated taking me back to the ER, but the problem was, it's like, well, what are they going to do? Are they going to actually do something this time, or are they going to send me back? And in the end, I ended up going back to the ER for another 4 hours. They did the blood patch, and it was instant relief. The headache was gone like
That quick.
The the anesthesiologist who did the blood patch, he said, "I'm done. I'm finished. How's the head?" I'm like, "The headache's gone." Like it was that fast.
Wow.
And which did nothing but infuriate.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, great for me. My wife was pissed because it was very much so. Why didn't we do this the first time?
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, it messed me up a lot. I got off the narcotics. I stopped taking them then, and I have made quite a bit of a recovery from all of that. In the end, from the spinal fluid, just to wrap this up,
Really good.
because we're going a little long on this, and it'd be nice to get to some cheerful things.
And we got like an hour, right?
Yeah.
It's fine. Plenty of time.
Yeah. In the end, what it really comes down to is what they found in my spinal fluid are these protein bands that weren't in my blood work. And up until 2017, if you had this where these bands were present in your spinal fluid but not your blood, it was an instant diagnosis of MS, multiple sclerosis. However, there's been a lot of research into MS, and I lack any scarring in my brain to suggest a silent attack or a prior incident. So until there's a second incident of me dealing with this, the best they can do is diagnose me with CIS, which stands for clinically isolated syndrome, which is, it's an okay name. It doesn't carry the weight of what it really kind of means, but it does describe what it is. The way that I kind of put it when I have told a few people about this is basically, if you were to think of, MS as a path, I'm on the first step. Now, it's very possible I never go any further, that I have this one attack and I'm done. But it is possible that I could have another attack in the future, in which case I would be diagnosed with MS and such. So, this brings me back to what I think is the greatest punchline of this whole thing. If you recall, earlier in this story, I told you I was denied an MRI. The reason I was denied an MRI, according to the insurance company, was because I don't have MS. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. The MRI I need
Wonderful.
to help diagnose this, I can't get because I don't have what they're looking for, which they don't know until they've done the MRI. So that has been my wonderful medical odyssey that I have been going over for the last few months. It is a slow recovery process, and there's the chance that I will never fully get over this.
Glad that you're feeling better, and of course that you're still around.
Yeah, but it does mean that I still have heat sensations in my leg from time to time. So if you ever now you know,
cheap heat.
Yeah, if you ever hear me complain about my foot's on fire, I mean that's what it is. It's I'm dealing with that and such. But otherwise, though, I am doing pretty well. So, but at least
good.
Now that's out there. You've heard the story of kind of where I've been the last few months, and I'm going to stop talking and enjoy a beverage. Kidder, what do you have on tap over there?
Well, before I answer that question, I was just going to say now, whenever you run into somebody who's like, well, what's been going on? Tell me the whole story about this. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Now you can go, well, check out the Triple B podcast with yours truly and the Mark Kidder, and you'll learn all about it. Episode number 2, I believe, what was the correct terminology? Mm. And of course, if it's actually still rolling here, because we seem to be running through some technology like we're running through a potato here or something. But essentially, let's see, it was the sequel. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was part 2 or the Second Awakening or something, something crazy. No, it's a sequel. So we're back. Triple B part 2, the sequel, the search for more money, I guess. I don't know. I mean, basically, just point them to that Triple B podcast, the Triple B Facebook page. That should explain the whole thing for you. Just make them sit down. But now I can answer what is on tap tonight. The old Budweiser Select, the full-flavored light lager, only 99 calories per can, 3.1 grams of carbs, so you know what? You can enjoy some Budweiser tastiness. And earlier, I've been waiting to do that because I wanted you to finish your story so that we can cheers to your good health, good sir.
Thank you.
I know you just took a drink, but you know what? Cheers. It's good health. Oh, yeah, feels good. Vocal lubrication. That's what we like to call that in the old radio biz. Earlier tonight, I was having some sushi and had a Sapporo beer, and that was not too bad. The old Japanese, or I think it's a Japanese beer. I could be wrong. Had it on tap. Not too bad. But you know what? I like supporting America. Get myself some old Budweiser beer, even though the parent company is not owned in America anymore. I can still support the old red, white, and blue. Other than that, you know what? Some good music been listening to. Now, the problem for me is that I listen to so much music. I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I have a Killer Kidder show, essentially a playlist on Spotify. It's open to the public. You can search Killer Kidder show, and it will pull it up. In fact, look at that handsome guy right there. I mean, that picture's just a couple years old, but you can pull up and follow and get all of my new songs that I'm adding, plus listen to all the rest of them that have been in there for the few years that I've been putting together this collection of musical awesomeness. Just to give you an idea, I started it, this gives me yesterday's date. I don't know why it would give me yesterday's date. Maybe it was just when I had last updated it. But right now, if you tune in to the Killer Kidder show on Spotify, which is free to listen to as well, just like this podcast, we got to make money somehow. So hopefully you can just start sending us a couple, 25 cents, 50 cents. It all adds up eventually. 25, 50, 75, $1. Whatever. It's popular in cruise ships, I guess, by the way. 311 hours and 41 minutes of musical awesomeness right here in the Killer Kidder show. And you got it right at your fingertips. So make sure you check that out. But I suppose you actually want to know what I'm like listening to right now. I mean, that it's kind of one of those things when you ask a question, right? Let's see. Well, wouldn't you know, it alphabetized everything. And here I thought I was going to get clever and show you the recently added tracks. There's some really, really good new music that's been coming out. A little bit of a dry spell, and I don't know if it's because of the scared nature that some people have had over COVID, or just because everything's kind of slowed down. But going back to the a year ago, I guess, Metallica's S&M2 concert was filmed, finally came out on Blu-ray and the 2-disc CD set, or for the digital download. Some phenomenal tracks there. And Metallica recently did I don't want to call it a pandemic special, but it was kind of an acoustic concert, an exclusive concert that was really good. Some new takes on songs and some cover songs that Metallica has never done. So it's just a couple. I might have some more specific things.
Yeah. Well,
on the next episode.
It's always good to hear kind of what you're listening to, because every now and then, you're able to suggest something, and I really do take to it. In fact, the last song that you suggested to me was by a Canadian blues duo, the Blue Stones, and I've enjoyed it. I'm trying to think, and the name of the song is escaping me, and it will... Shaking Off the Rust. That was the song. I got there eventually.
Have another drink there, Howie.
Yeah. So, but I listened to that one. In fact, I actually, back when I was getting to be an off-ice official for hockey, and they finally gave me the software. I could add my own music. I actually added those guys in. Which brings me to...
As you should.
Yeah. Which brings me to, because I doubt Dan, the regular announcer, would ever hear this, so I can get away with it. I think I shared with you a couple months ago. There was a mashup that was done of Metallica's "Enter Sandman" and Huey Lewis and the News' "Hip to Be Square," and it was great, great mashup. And for anybody who wants to hear this, I will put a link in the show notes to it. Anyway, Dan, the regular announcer for every Bismarck High Demons high school hockey game, the leadoff song of warm-ups is Enter Sandman. And now that I know how to work the software...
All right, good choice.
It's good choice, but, it's been Enter Sandman for years. A lot of years. Dan never changes anything.
Well, I mean, Enter Sandman came out in 1991. So we're talking 30 years ago already that has been released. It's a 30-year-old song. There's nothing wrong with it. No. Then trust me, if I want to dig into the deeper Metallica album, or all of the artistry that Metallica's out there, I'm probably going to be listening to some other stuff, some of the deeper tracks. What about Sad But True? That's a fantastic one. It's also 30 years old because it's also off the Black album. But another fantastic track.
My thing with it is, and
anyway,
it gets more to the fact that Dan, I mean, this is the same though. Like, his playlists are the same year after year. He maybe adds one or two new songs, but otherwise it's the same songs every year. Anyway,
slow down there, Hard Charger. Don't want to get too many new tracks. We might stray away from the playlist.
Yeah. Anyway, so last year I was covering so many games that he actually gave me the software, and I could introduce a whole bunch of stuff, which got some pretty good reviews because I did some things differently. It worked out pretty well. Anyway, one of these days I do want to take that mashup track, and when I have his computer and sound set up, just and so that the next time he goes to play for the Demons game and he hits Enter Sandman and walks away like he does,
play. That's a good track.
That pops up.
Listen to it. It's got a nice funky rhythm to it.
Still technically Enter Sandman. It's just a different version, and it will just be great. I have to see what he has to do. Yep. It'd be fun. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're getting to listen though to some new music. I don't really get to listen to music that I want to listen to because I have a 1-year-old, and so the music that I get to listen to is from a duo, but it's called Big Block Sing Song. And yeah, it's all kids' music. But I would argue for kids' music, it's pretty good. It's the kind of stuff that you can listen to
All right.
over and over and over again and not feel the need to bang your head into a wall. In fact, I think even you, Kidder, would like some of this stuff. Because it's what they try and do with it is, one, there's always humor.
I don't know, man.
There's always humor to it. I mean, there's just some very clever lines in there. But the other thing is, with every song, like, they are clearly inspired by somebody, you know. Their song Turkey Turkey, I would almost argue, is a David Bowie-esque song. You know, you just hear it. And there's some of the songs
it's probably based off of Rebel or something.
Kind of, not quite, but it's more like they will take like the essence of an artist and put it into one song. For the most part, it works, and it's really good, and every song is different and can be enjoyable. There are some songs that you're just like, no, I'm not going to do that one. That's not great. So they have a few that I just listen to. And I'm like, oh, the kind of frat rap,
well,
cows got out song. Yeah, I can't handle it. You know, I can't. You know, but
you know who also likes to rap about cows? Milo Hudson-Buehler. And if I was hoping that the closed captions would be able to spell Hudson-Buehler. However, obviously it didn't. Hudson-Buehler. No, Hudson-Buehler. It's German. Milo Hudson-Buehler. He's got some hits about the cows on the farm and herd immunity. That's his new song talking about herd immunity. But
yeah,
we don't have to put a link to that one. I'm sure that there's plenty of people watching from around here who know who Milo Hudson-Buehler is.
Yeah. No, so other
Hudson-Mueller, almost.
So other than the kids' songs, I've been listening to podcasts. It's what I do. I'm actually listening to a old one of the first ones I ever got into. It's called the D6 Generation. It's a board game podcast that like every episode is like 3 to 4 hours long. They're huge. I'm on like episode 204. Okay. So that means like over 800 hours of this I have listened to.
Well,
and it's
we could end up doing something like that too, but people just turn us off after the first 5 minutes.
The thing though, and I'm a little sad as I'm kind of getting up there, because I know that after that something happens at episode 237.
We'll just tap and see if this thing's on. I mean,
check it for a pulse.
I mean, well, that's not going to happen. I mean, dash, just so I don't know, but it's back. It says that we're back on. Well, I guess here we are again. This is the Triple B. That guy over there is One Howard Blues, and I am the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Kidder. Apparently, we had the hamster, some gerbils, or at least gremlins in the old system, or something like that made us not only apparently lose time, you know, like some other thing, like the daylight savings time, something along those lines, but then we were transported to another time and date, apparently, where now I'm wearing different clothes. This is bizarre. And I have a fresh beer. Coolest time warp ever. So, with that, cheers to you. Did we get to this in the earlier thing? Because I forgot if I actually we talked about what's on tap.
We
Tell what's on tap?
Yeah, we started the show with that. Although I do have to make 2 points.
Okay.
First is your Picard impression is better than your Kirk by like miles. Miles.
It is so.
Second of all,
I also don't feel like ripping this, so this comes in the prerequisite of being Kirk. You got to rip your tunic.
Yeah. Second, my glass is empty, so. Well, that's not the sound I was hoping for.
Do we really know what sound you're actually hoping for? Because I don't think any of them match up on that little thing.
No. That would have been better. That would have sold the joke. But yeah, I realized we talked about this in the pre-show last time, and then I proceeded to not use it once. So I was going to make a point. I was like, I'm going to use this.
Okay.
And if you're wondering what this is and why
if you want to make a point, you gotta do one of those.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, we had some technical difficulties, and we're still learning the ropes of this podcast game and trying to get all of our equipment together and such. So if you've been sticking around with us, you've probably already seen some improvements in just at least the lighting. We are far more illuminated than we were the first time. But we're, it's a...
I mean, it's always good to be enlightened.
Yes. Yep. So we're still working on it. Things, we're going to have errors. We're going to have technical difficulties. We're going to have problems. But one of the things, Kidder, I think that it's, worth noting. We mentioned in our first show, we've been talking about doing this podcast for years. And the reason why we haven't done it up until now, and I would say, is because in the past, you and I have tended to work in careers that we worked in careers more because they were good careers. They were careers that mattered, and we weren't doing it for the pay. I mean, the paycheck was good, but
Mm-hmm.
we were working more, out of, one would say, a calling. So because of that, I know for myself and my wife speaking that, money has been tight for us at times. We've lived on a budget. So it's one of those things, when starting this up, getting a decent microphone, getting lights, anything else that comes into this, it takes some money. And sure, we could have waited and, till we could afford the expensive mixing board and some fancy video capture equipment and all this other stuff. But you guys would be waiting another 10 years to get this podcast. So,
I mean, maybe.
Well,
the funny thing is, if we actually had made time back when my laptop was new and your laptop was new, that we would have been on the air here about 8 years ago.
Well, I was going to say, my laptop that I'm running this on is 10 years old.
But we wouldn't have the fancy lights. We wouldn't have the fancy microphone. We would have just been like, welcome to the podcast. It's got some high-tech technology. It's just using the computer laptop mic, so you're not going to actually understand it. And plus, this whole technology of actually capturing the camera, bringing it through, we probably look like we would have been broadcast through a potato. So there's that.
Yeah. So needless to say, not that I'm trying to make a bunch of excuses, but I just wanted to say, if anybody has stuck through all of this, the shenanigans and RBS, please continue to do so, because I think it's only going to get better. We're in the long haul with this.
Well, we can hope.
I probably don't realize this, but Kidder's going to quit like at episode 10 or something. It'll just be me talking in my basement.
So, the first 10, phenomenal. Number 11, we'll see when we get there. I mean, it really depends. So, did I mention that you're wearing the same thing? Did I mention that?
Listen, I got a kid. This is what I wear in the evenings. Until it has enough
You're wearing the same
spit
thing.
up and other
Okay.
stuff on it. This is what I wear. I actually took the time though to get the strings back to level. This other one was about 2 feet longer because he pulled them all the way through. Yeah, I'm a little worried if my kid ever plays hockey.
Well,
he learned the grab the jersey thing really quick as a kid.
It's good. It's good. I mean, unfortunately, the joke would be on him now because the jerseys don't really have the strings. I mean, the specialty ones anyway, don't they? They still have the NHL logo, but this is the authentics here, and as you can see, there's no laces on the front, but we got the shamrock here, the letters. And of course, because you know that I'm Nathan McKinnon's long-lost brother, if you didn't know. So, you got to support the McKinnon. The kid. I'm Kidder. He's the kid. But I'm, the man, the myth, the legend. So, I mean, we got something going for us. And, of course, go Avs.
I thought Crosby was the kid.
Listen. You, as a fellow Avs fan, want to come at me with this Pittsburgh Penguin bitch-ass shit. You're making me swear, and you make it Google blur it out, because then you at least can't see that I'm swearing. It is bullshit. There, I said the show's name in the show. Does that mean I get an extra 10%? I'm looking for royalties here. No, Sidney Crosby, I got 2 words for you. There you go.
Yeah,
it's about
yeah.
Right.
I tried.
Glad you got that on standby.
I had to look to make sure I got the right button. I mean, I have 9 choices here. It could go horribly wrong.
And again, remember, by show 10, you should have them figured out. So show 11 will end up getting the right sound.
Hopefully, if I continue this shtick up that long. So, last time we were just...
We're going to get hate emails. Great.
Oh,
that's all we need. By the way, speaking of hate emails, if you'd like to email Howard Blues and express your disappointment in not knowing which one of the 9 buttons to press, you can email us at beerbluesbs@gmail.com.
Right. And just make sure the subject line says, "Attention, Mark Kidder," so I can forward it on to him.
That'll be good, because then I'll read the really good mail. So I suppose we were talking about music or something, right?
Well,
is that like what we were listening to?
We had just...
Or did we already do that?
We were just...
Do we do what we're listening to?
We were just finishing it up, because I was talking about the D6 Generation podcast I've been listening to, that at episode 237, the show changes. And I don't know why. And I think the last line that I almost said, the closed captioning caught it, but I never said it, was that I'm too lazy to go and Google the answer. So I don't know what happens after that show or why. So that's why I'm approaching it with dread every time I finish an episode. It's like, oh no, I'm one step closer to the end of this. So yeah, but that was kind of where we were. And then we were going to transition into what we've been watching. So, Kidder, what have you been watching besides the Avs crush the Kings?
So we ended up discussing the Killer Kidder show and the 300 plus hours of music that we have.
Now you're just making a shameless plug.
Oh, right. That was a very, very good game on Sunday. No, it's not shameless. I'm just trying to get followers. You know what I mean? It's kind of like this podcast. But
Poaching the audience we
Avalanche
don't
game
have
was
yet.
fantastic. 4-1 victory for your Colorado Avalanche. All the audience, hello.
Wait.
Oh.
I got something for this.
They're not here tonight.
Okay, apparently the drum roll is jazz hands.
All right. There's a little bit of a build-up there. Drink a beer, and with your other, make a jazz hand.
Yeah.
Because you're excited to drink a beer. Let's see. What did I talk about the other day that I forgot about? I mean, just a couple minutes ago that it didn't actually catch. Let's see. I was watching Monday Night Raw. Of course, this is the go-home week for WWE Fastlane on the road to WrestleMania. And we'll see. Hold on. I pointed at the sign. Got that taken care of, so now we can continue along till the next one. So we'll see what Fastlane holds for us this weekend. Of course, you'll have our full expert analysis on what could be a moderate to very disappointing pay-per-view. We'll give you that full breakdown, plus our analytics on choices and all kinds of stuff like Howie Blues has said before that we do for the shenanigans part of it, the BS part of it.
Which reminds me, I need to
other
get that
than
sheet
that, a
done.
lot of the shows, coming to. Oh boy, I expect graphs and pie charts breakdown. We need the full analytics to make sure that we have everything that we've covered in the past decade. That should be easy. Just done.
Yeah. I'll maybe have that done by this weekend. Maybe, possibly. Might have to take some time off work to pull that one off.
Which weekend? Yeah. Well, I mean, you've got one of those quote-unquote cushy jobs now, so just do it at work, because why not actually get some real work done while you're at your pay job?
Because I like my job, and I prefer to stay there. Thank you.
Oh.
Plus, there gets to be some technicalities when you work for the state, and fraud. They don't. In fact, I'm actually on our agency's fraud squad.
Oh, you're on the fraud squad, or you're in the fraud list?
No,
like they're watching you because you.
no. The agency has to do this basically risk fraud assessment, and I'm on the team that gets to do that. So, like the last meeting, we had to brainstorm ways that you could commit fraud within the agency.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, you could really just call up the Biden administration and ask them, because they've got all kinds of ideas on fraudulent things.
And there goes half our audience.
I don't know. I got plenty of places to market for the people who like hearing that sort of thing. So, I mean, I know a guy.
Anyway, so
Go on.
well, we were on what you were watching. So besides Raw this week, what else you had?
Well, let's see. Oh, that's right. The Prophet with Marcus Lemonis, if I said his name correctly. It's on CNBC. Talks about, or goes out and basically tries to rescue businesses that aren't doing so well. He does like full analysis of their business, ends up making a deal with them for a portion of the business and either an investment into that business or a loan of some kind, typically not a loan But very interesting topics that they cover, and I think there's, I don't know, 9 seasons or something silly like that. So there's plenty of episodes for you to check out. And then they've been doing these bonus episodes or where Marcus revisits the old shows, and then you kind of get a behind the scenes of what was I thinking when this happened. And you'll see him cutting in and out and whatnot. And this was really stupid on my part, or, this person had a really good idea, but just didn't know how to execute it at the time. Different things like that. Very interesting to look back, 8 years ago when one of them was a Farrell's ice cream. I had never heard of it, being from the Northland, but apparently it was big across the country, and there were 1 or 2 of them in North Dakota before they all closed into the 90s, and then they brought it back in California, and a few of those restaurants were brought back for the episode, or before the episodes. They started losing a whole bunch of money. Marcus invested and did a few things, but I think they ended up folding after they sold it. But very interesting things, and learning about their proprietary ice cream recipe that they had, and very interesting things for the show. He's also been at a car dealership, a place that makes key lime pie in Florida. There's so many different episodes, and it's not just one specific thing. It's very interesting. You get a taste of the business world. So for me, it's kind of like John Taffer and Bar Rescue. Very interesting going in and seeing how John Taffer ends up rescuing these bars. And no new episodes of Bar Rescue right now, but that's also a very good show.
Yeah,
aside from Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, and all of that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've seen Bar Rescue, I'm not... I get a little tired of Bar Rescue because it's almost, once you've seen 1 or 2 episodes, you've seen like a good chunk. They kind of all play out about the same. It's still fine. It falls kind of, for me, in that category of show that I would put on, leave in the background, and paint or do something else. Because if I missed a detail, it's not the end of the world. But no, this one, the Prophet.
And the best part about it is right at the end when they do the full reveal.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one, the Prophet, though, I haven't heard and I haven't seen, but it sounds interesting. Truthfully, I'm not much of a business guy.
I think you would like it because it.
Yeah. No.
Talks about all kinds of aspects of business, which could even help you in your personal finances or your professional life as well. Just little tidbits you can put together.
Wow, cool.
Kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I've been watching something a little different because I don't tend to watch a lot of TV. I mean, usually if I have something on, it's YouTube.
Not just the plain TV. You got TV.
Yeah.
Like the premium television. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I don't have one of those cushy jobs like you do.
You were gonna have people thinking that I
on a board.
I'm on a lot of boards and meetings and task force. It's a lot of responsibility, man. A lot of
meetings, task forces.
I don't know why I'm getting all the grief here. But I've been watching a show out of the...
I don't know, Mr. Fraud Detection.
Let's see. There's a mute feature on here somewhere.
I'm sure there is. Well, you can't censor me.
Oh, yeah.
If only the lag was better. Because then Howie Blues could sit here and actually tell us about what he's watching.
Well,
and not have me interrupt a quarter of the way into his sentence.
Yeah, I know. I keep starting
If
and you
only we had
keep
the
interrupting,
technology.
and now I'm just gonna power through.
I keep finishing.
That's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna keep going. So I'm watching a show that's out from the UK, from their channel 4. It's called 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown. Um, what they
Well, that sounds awfully
done.
interesting.
I'm still powering through this. What they have done is they for one of their big anniversary specials, they took and combined a bunch of their shows, kind of ones that had slightly different premises. So they combined a show called 8 out of 10 Cats, which is kind of a panel show, usually with some ridiculous questions and comedians. And then there's Countdown, which is a very academic show about solving anagram problems and math problems. And they combined these two to have the comedians hosting and basically being the contestants on the show. It was very popular, and so they started doing kind of specials with it, and then they decided to make it a regular series. But it airs late night for them, and it's by no means family friendly. But the host, Jimmy Carr, famous comedian out of Great Britain, he insults all of the hosts or all of the guests and such, all the contestants. That's the word I'm looking for. Finally came to me. They do a lot of these little kind of different shtick things throughout it. One of the things is every contestant brings a mascot, and it's usually some form of prop for a bit of prop comedy. One of the best ones I saw recently was a guy brought in a car. He brought his car in, and they wheeled it in, and Jimmy's like, you brought a car. He's like, oh yeah. Any particular reason? No reason. Car's covered in for sale signs. She was like, I kind of think you're trying to sell your car. And the comedian who was talking to Joe Wilkinson's like, no. But if someone's interested, it runs well, starts listing off all the features and such. And right at the end of it, the trunk pops open, and a guy who's been tied up with duct tape across his mouth pops out and runs through the audience completely naked. And they just kind of look at it, and Joe goes, he comes with the car. So it's got some good humor. They have a word expert, they have a math expert. It's kind of fun to play along. The comedy bits can be good. If I have only one critique, is that sometimes the opening gets a little long. Sometimes the stuff they bring in for the mascots, you just are kind of like, okay, I get the joke, just move on. And it's tough.
Get on with it.
Yeah,
get on with it.
It's one of those tough things because when you're a comedian, there's a lot of craft that goes into it. You practice these jokes and these routines, and you work out all the wording and the timing and the pacing and how long you could get away with a bit. And here, there's kind of more on the fly with some of it, and so some of it you're just kind of like, it's okay, but you could wrap this up and that'd be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of been the main thing I've been watching in the evenings. Just kind of enjoying it. Other than that, I was going to ask, Kidder, have you watched or seen the new trailer? Hi, everybody. If you're seeing this is Howie Blues. Just thought I'd let you know what has kind of transpired. You just probably saw our technical difficulties little video for the second time. So we recorded the episode originally and lost about the last 20-30 minutes of it. Kidder and I got together a second time, recorded again the end of the show, and at that point we lost kind of our ending for a third time. And instead of us trying to basically have the same conversation for a third time, I thought it'd be best if I just hopped on here, kind of let you know that that's what happened, and just fill you in on what's going to happen on the next recording so that you're ready and prepared for it. My brother-in-law gave my son this book here, the Star Trek alphabet book, and it's not great. And I say that because it's some of the things that they chose to represent the letters are not the things that, if you know Star Trek, you would choose. To just kind of give an example, but from a different series, if this was the Star Wars alphabet book, and then we got to the letter M, you would expect them to use, like, Mace Windu would be a big character with that name. But instead, if they used Max Rebo, a character that many of you, if you're not a Star Wars fan, are like, who? You might even be Googling it. You might even go, wait, that guy had a name? Yeah. It's one of those things. So if you're familiar with the original trilogy, you might know Max Rebo. But I'm just saying, that's a great example of using an obscure character for that. Anyway, they've done that with this. So for next week, I have challenged Kidder, because he is a Star Trek fan, and we're going to go through this book, A through Z, and he is going to guess what he thinks what the book is going to use for each letter. And we'll see how well he does, and we'll get his impressions on this. A couple of things that I let him know is that it covers everything from the original series through Voyager, so kind of the Prime series, as he would put it. And it can be anything from species to characters to items to organizations to ranks. And I think that's just about it. So that's all he got as a hint. And he made the bold prediction that A is for Andorians. And this next week, we'll see how well he does. So that was the big thing that, unfortunately, we lost on the recording. And so it's kind of why I wanted to pop in here and say that. So we're still working on getting all these technical difficulties worked out. Hope you stick with us. Hope you keep giving us a try. And hopefully we just keep getting better. But until then, thanks for listening to Beer, Blues, and BS. And we'll catch you down the road next time.
You have been listening to a UA production of Beer, Blues, and BS. If you enjoyed the show, help others find out about it by rating the show or leaving a review at your podcast listening service of choice. Thanks for listening, and may your glass never be empty. UA Productions presents A Glimpse Behind the Curtain.
But if you'd like to sponsor us, because we'd like to get some technology from this decade for both of us. Because you start recording and all of a sudden you go into robot mode.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
You reminded me of something that I was going to grab just for... Watch as the pop filter goes back.
The Tuscan Tornado.
No. I have this little thing, which is...
Okay.
I'll hold it up a little bit closer to the screen. It's a little sound effects thing. So I can...
Oh my gosh, it's like a soundboard. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we got... So, yeah. The interesting thing about it is it has little icons on it. It really doesn't tell you, because like that was a drum that I just hit. I would have thought it was a drum roll.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. So
Makes perfect sense.
we might just have misplaced sound effects throughout this episode. Anyway.